Okay, so in order to make a player model keep the same weights, you need basically just one tool, and it is uh, Voyage's Blender Bones merger. Uh, Basically, what this allows you to do is remove a lot of unused bones, or, well, used bones more so, and allows you to very easily uh, get rid of or combine bones that are useful or well useless really. So I've got a character here. I have D4C here, and he's got a lot of bones that I either am not going to be using or have no purpose to exist. So we have the upper arm here, but we also have this bone, which is just a controller bone from All Star Battle. And you can see it just moves with the upper arm, and if you're not using it with the original animations and you're porting this to a source character, you don't really need this bone. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab it, so it's this arm bone 1, and we're just going to move it aside, shift click, go into edit mode, merge with active. So what I did just there, I'll explain it again. So you grab the bone, use G to move it aside, left click, shift left click the bone you want to merge it to, go into edit mode with tab, right click, and click merge with active. Now the merge with active comes from this plugin. So you can't really do this without this plugin or some other kind of plugin. But it comes in handy a lot. Like this bicep bone, for example. Sure, you could make it into a helper bone, but if you're just looking to make a simple character model, you don't really need helper bones, so we can just get rid of that one too. Same with this side. We don't need this, so we're going to shift click, merge with active. We don't need this, so we're going to shift click, merge with active. And that goes for a lot of these bones. I don't know if this one's needed. It might not be. We got the forearm here. An elbow twist, I think, is also there. The elbow is really the only important one, because you can use that for a helper bone, but the rest of these can just go. So we're going to merge this one with the forearm, and this one looks like it's probably more up here, so we'll merge it with up there, and then we'll see. There we go. It looks a little jank, so, maybe you want to merge one of them differently, or weight paint it yourself, whichever. Um, but that's just to help with getting rid of extra bones that you don't need. For example, this breastbone here, more like a chest, since he doesn't have any. But it doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there for animation, like when the body jiggles around, or they make intense actions because the way the game is, and that's just kind of the style. That's probably what these up here were for as well, is just to add more motion to the character, but you don't really need that in Source. I mean, you could make use of it with jiggle bones or hand animate it yourself if you want, or you could leave it if you're porting it as a ragdoll for other players to use. But whatever, this is just a simple player model that we're planning on doing here, so we don't really need this. I mean, I could make it into a jiggle bone, but I don't really see a point for it, so we're just gonna get rid of it. Uh, yeah, I don't really have a purpose for it. Okay, now let's get into the sweet juicy stuff. So we have this bone here, which doesn't really do anything. This is the actual pelvis that is weight painted. So this bone here, it just controls it. So we can just get rid of that, go into edit mode with tab, press X, and then delete bones. As you can see, that doesn't affect our character at all, because it was just a control bone. Same with the one all the way down here. So there's another one down here. Yep, there we go. It's just another control bone. Same with this one. And this one I don't think does anything. Yeah, those are also just control bones, so we can just get rid of all those. We have these extra thigh bones here, which are once again, like I said, for more stylistic animation. So you don't really need it, so we can just merge it to the thigh. Same with this one. There we go. Now the weight painting on this model is a little funky, but you know, you can fix that yourself if you really want to. For the purpose of this, I guess I can show how to do that. So you click on the skeleton, shift click on the character model, go into weight paint mode, and then control click the bone. And then you should be able to see it. So one of these bones is merged there. Which one is it? It looks like it's that one. So you can press Z and go into wireframe, and you can more easily see. You can see a little bit of blue appears there. So let's turn the radius up a little bit, and then just erase it. You can see the weight I'm painting with up here, so I'm just painting it with 0 to basically erase it. And now if I press R, okay, you can. There's still a little bit, so let's keep erasing. Press G to move. Still a little bit up here. Okay, there we go. Now I'm noticing something here, that the areas do not connect properly. So the way we can do that is, since they are already basically in the exact same position, you can press Z to go back into material preview. You can see these bones are already like together. So we're just going to go into wireframe. We're going to press W twice. So W twice. And then you're going to circle around this area with the trace. And then M by distance. And then that will merge all the bones there. Or, well, not bones, the vertices. So now you can see if I move one of them, the rest of it moves with it. This other side probably needs it done as well, so let's take a look. Yep. So we're going to select this whole area, M by distance, back to material. Okay, that probably needs to be done all around the model, but I'm not going to do that for this because that's just a lot of time. If your model doesn't have areas that overlap and could possibly need to be apart, then what you can do is you can just select everything, press M by distance, and that will merge everything by distance. Okay, here we go. Let's see how to do the fun stuff. So we're going to go to here, and this is how you're going to transfer the valve armature, or the weights from this model to the valve armature. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to this bone, like the thigh, for example, and then we're going to look at its name, and then we're going to go back and look at a model with the valve armature. So we'll open up Male01 reference, and we'll take a look at his bones. So you can see it's named valve biped.biped01 underscore R underscore thigh. So keep in mind all the capitalization is important, and all of the scheming is important. So we're just going to copy the first half of this name. That's what I like to do. And then you're just going to go back out of object mode, re-show your model, and then we're going to go into edit mode real quick. We're going to set this up here to individual origins and set this to normal. Then we're going to select all bones with A, press S, 1, 0, enter. And then we're going to go down to the running man over here, and we're going to set axes to 1. We're going to enable it, basically. And then we're going to zoom in. Alright, now we can see the axes. So we're going to go back into pose mode. We're going to click on this bone, and we're going to come down to the bone here, bone properties, and we're going to copy paste in this name. So this will be valve biped.biped01 underscore R underscore thigh. So now that has the valve armature name. And you just need to do that for basically every bone. So this will be R underscore knee. This will be R underscore calf, etc. So you will just cross-reference with the original model to see what all the names of the bones need to be. I already know them off by heart, but obviously if you're a little new to this, you will probably have to scroll through them all and check all the names. The most important ones are going to be the fingers. Those are a little tricky to get the hang of. So, for example, it's going to be... So this is how it works. We're going to go from a top-down view here. So how these bones work is we have the thumb, the index, the middle, the ring, and the pinky. So the pinky is finger 4. So we're going to name this valbiped.bip01 underscore r underscore finger 4. The pinky is finger 4. The ring is finger 3. The middle is finger 2. Index is finger 1. And the thumb is finger 0. So it goes 0 to 4, starting with the thumb, ending with the pinky. And then the naming scheme goes like this. So this base finger is right finger 0. This one will be right finger 0, 1. And this last finger will be 0, 2. So that may not make a lot of sense at first, but how it works is basically you have a finger, its number, and then the first bone and the second bone. So it's like you have a number, so this is finger 1, and then this will be finger 11. So it's not adding, it's just adding a number at the end. You're not changing the first number at all, you're just adding a second number to the end. So this will be finger 12, this will be finger 11, and this will be finger 1. So it's more helpful to think of 1, 1, 1, and 1, 2. So this one will be right finger 2. So that means this will be right finger 2, 1. And this finger will be right finger 2, 2. And you just do that for the rest of the fingers. If you don't have 4 fingers on your character model, like say it's more of a, I don't know, some kind of Pokemon or something, and they don't have 4 fingers, you don't need to name all 4 of them. You just need to name the ones that are there to the ones you want to move them. Typically, the most used in games like Garry's Mod are finger 1 and finger 2. Finger 3 and 4, by default, most of the time either aren't animated or are very lazily animated. So most of the time, they won't matter that much. So primarily focus, if your character has 2 fingers, then you want to do finger 1 and 2. If your character has 4 fingers, then, you just do the usual. So, besides that, that's the naming scheme done. And once you name all the bones, which I don't have them all named, but I will explain the rest anyway, now's the tricky part. You have to go into edit mode on the bones. You can hide the model for this if you really want to, and just look at the bones. You're going to need to copy the axes rotations from the Val biped onto this. So, for example, one thing I forgot to mention, actually, is the spine bones. Not all characters will have 4 spine bones. My character, for example, only has 3. You should always start from the top and start with 4. So this will be spine 4. This will be spine 2. And this will be spine 1. You always skip spine 3 because the Val biped does not have a spine 3. It goes spine, spine 1, spine 2, and spine 4. I don't know why. I'm not going to question why. That's how it works. So not all bones will have a basic spine bone, but you will need to have one for animation purposes. So what you can do is you can go into edit mode on the pelvis or something, Shift D to duplicate it, right click to cancel the movement, and then you can rotate it a little bit for now, just so you can distinguish where it is. So we'll do RZ10. Or RZ minus 10. There we go. This will be spine. So in order, you should have spine, spine 1, spine 2, and spine 4. So you always need all 4 spine bones, even if your character doesn't have that many. So you may be asking, well, how do I do that? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. You just put the bones that they don't have at the center of the last spine bone, or the pelvis, for example. So also, the spines need to be parented in order, so I need to do this. So click this, shift click the other spine bone, go into edit mode with tab, press Q. Well, not Q. I think it's Control P, keep offset. And there we go. Now if I move this bone, the rest of the skeleton moves with it. So this is how I do player models, is if they don't have enough spine bones, I will just create an extra one, and I will stash it at the last bone it did have. So say your character only has 2 spine bones. The most important spine bones are probably spine 2 and spine 4, so those should be the defining ones. And if your character only has 1 spine bone, then it should definitely be spine 4. Spine 4 is what connects the clavicles to the rest of the torso. So that is the most important spine bone by far, and should always be the one that your character has. So the top spine should always be spine 4. And then if you need more, you can just make more and name them. And then say my character only had 2 spine bones. Then this one will be spine 2, this one will be spine 4. So it'll be spine 2, spine 4. So you always need 2. The rest need to exist, but can be at any position, really. So if this one, you'll notice I don't have 4 spine bones, so I just put the first spine on the pelvis since it has nowhere else to go. If he only had 2 spine bones, then I would put also Shift S, cursor to selected. Well, you need to click the start bone, the start of the bone, Shift S, cursor to selected. If you click the whole bone, it will just set the cursor to the middle of the bone, and you don't really want that because that'll just start extending them outwards. So you want to click the start of the bone, Shift S, cursor to selected. And then we'll click on this bone, and we'll move it down. So if I only had 2 spine bones, I would just put those 2 right on top of each other on the pelvis, and then spine 2 and spine 4 would be up here. That may be a little complicated to understand, so I can pull up another model, for example, that doesn't have that many spine bones. Like a Gears of War character, for example, only has 3 spine bones, so it would be the same as this, basically, where I just put... So, I'm trying to explain this in the most ways possible so that anyone watching can understand. So we're going to set the cursor to world origin here, hide this, we're going to add an armature, single bone, we're going to E. Oh no, actually I shouldn't do that because that'll just connect them. They need to be unconnected. So say this is the pelvis bone, and this is the only spine bones my character has. Well, I obviously need spine 4 and I need spine 2. So those will be the most important ones. But what happens to spine? Or let's say what happens to spine and spine 1 if I only have 2 spine bones. So we have spine 2 here and spine 4 here. So since I don't really have anywhere else to put them, there's one of 2 ways you can do this, and it could look better either way. It depends on what your character model moves like. So I will obviously need a spine 1 and spine. So we're going to duplicate, and there's 2 options here. You can move the extra spine bone that you need to either the previous, or you can move it on the same position as the last one you have. And because I need 2 spine bones, I'm going to create another one. So it'll look something like this, or it'll look something like this. Basically, you just need all the bones. It doesn't matter where they are, just as long as they're somewhere that the game can recognize them. So they need to be connected to each other in order from spine to spine 4, and they all need to exist. It doesn't matter exactly where they are. They just need to exist. Only spine 2 and spine 4 are really the most important ones that need to be prioritized on where you place them. So, for example, what I do here, once I've named the spines, so we're going to name spine 1, spine 2, and spine 4. So, because the spine rotations in Source Engine are pretty fucking finicky, what I will do is I will grab a character model from the game I'm porting to, and I will duplicate their skeleton, and I will select their spine bones. So we have spine 1, spine 2, and spine 4. And we're going to go to tab, Control I, X, bones. So now we just have the spine bones. So now that we have that, we're going to click our skeleton, Control click the source skeleton, go into pose mode, and line up the bones that I need to be there. So spine goes here, spine 1 goes here. If you're curious what I'm doing, I'm using Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift S, selection to cursor. You can also go up here and set this to vertex, click on the bone, press G, hold Control, and snap it. I just prefer using the cursor method. So the reason why I'm doing this is because these spine bones are very precise rotations, and they need to be exact, or else Source will rotate your character weirdly. So the way how Source Engine works is any bone that exists will be snapped to the rotation and location of the animation. Now we can fix the location issue with the proportion trick by, I think, Zekmaka and someone else. I don't remember. But the rotation issue is not something you can fix. It's not like Unreal Engine where the rotation of the bone can be like any which way and it will just apply locally. So that's why we're doing this. Because you'll notice if I go into the Source Engine skeleton and then I go into here, turn off shapes, turn on axes, you can see the exact rotation that your character model needs to have. So this will be the right clavicle, and you can see which way it's pointing. It needs to be faced straight outwards, away from where it starts. So it needs to point up, and X needs to face the next bone. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our model. We're going to find the clavicle, which is this. This is why we put on normal and individual origins on earlier. We're going to press RX, and that will rotate it on the X-axis. And then you can type in 90, but that went the wrong way, so we're going to do RX minus 90 and rotate it 90 degrees upwards. So it's now pointing up, and X is pointing towards the next bone. So I need to get rid of this one. This is just an animation bone, so we're just going to get rid of it. Although it's a little too slanted for my preference. It's preferable if it's faced straight up. So we're just going to hide the model, zoom in, set this back to increment, and then RX and hold Control, and just incrementally rotate it. Alright, minus 10 seems to work. Maybe one more. 0.5. Yeah, okay. So it's 9.5. So this will be RX 99.5. And now they should both be facing straight upwards. Perfect. And then X needs to face the next bone, which in our case is the upper arm over here. And this bone is not needed, so we can just get rid of that. Excuse me? Oh, is it because the mess isn't shown? Oh, okay. Now it's a little too slanted upwards for me. I'd rather if it was pointed straight. So I'm gonna hit numpad 5, hit end, hide the model again, and then we're going to RZ control, RZ control. There we go. Now they're facing a little more upright, and I'm happy with that. Since he's like straight to the sides, that's good enough for me. And now we cross-reference with the original skeleton. So this is the upper arm, and the upper arm is right around here. So we're gonna go here. Left upper arm. Yep, okay. So it's facing backwards, and X is pointing towards the next bone, which is this one. Forearm. Forearm is the important bone. Elbow is just a helper bone. So forearm is the actual important bone. And then that's pointing towards the hand. The hand points outwards. And X points in between fingers 2 and 3. Okay. We can do that. So we're going to go to the upper arm, forearm. Forearm is already facing the right way. The hand is upside down. So we're going to go RX 90, RX 90. I'm hitting enter, by the way, when I'm finished. You never want to do RX 180 because for some reason Blender has an issue where it will completely butcher the rotation of the bone if you do RX 180. You can see it there, it messes up the rotation. It starts pointing the wrong way. So just do 90 twice, and that works. So then we're going to go back to the skeleton. We're going to see in the valve armature which way the fingers face. So the thumb bones face inwards and the rest of the fingers face outwards. So we're just going to, well, I don't need this. This is the weapon bone, so we're just going to get rid of that. I'm going to W twice. Select all these. RX 90, RX 90. And now all those fingers are facing upwards. And X is facing that way, which is correct. And these fingers, X is facing that way, and they're pointed inwards. So now if I were to rename all these bones and apply a valve animation to it, it would rotate correctly. As for the skeleton here, with the spine bones, the way you can do it is you can just delete the old ones. They're just going to select, 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 and we're just going to delete them with X. And then we're going to click on the male skeleton, control click on my skeleton, and then control J. And then we're going to go into pose mode, select everything, F3, apply pose as rest pose. Now if I go into edit mode, here we go. And then we're going to select these two bones, shift select the spine 4, and then tab, control P, keep offset. Same with the neck. And then there we go. Now we have the correct rotation for all of the spine bones. I will quickly rotate this one as well, just so we can get a good example of what the movement would look like. Going to quickly rename this bone. This is right forearm. Right upper arm. Right clavicle. So now, in theory, if I just correctly rotate... Oh, that's right. The spine needs to be connected to the pelvis, so keep offset. There we go. Now all I need to do is make sure the pelvis is facing the correct direction. So the pelvis needs to... Let's take a look. So it faces upwards and X faces to the left. My right. So we're going to click on the pelvis. Faces upwards, so RZ -90. And then we're going to go into the roll here, which is on this. And we're going to add 90. Wrong way, so we're going to add 180. And then add 90. There we go. Now it's facing upwards, and the X is facing to our right, aka the left. And now, in theory, if I import a source engine animation, so we're going to go to my repo, files, repo dump, Half-Life 2 models, and then I need humans, male animations. We're just going to go with an idle, so let's try agitated idle, and then you'll see unless it's just not wanting to, you know. Well, I don't know why it's not wanting to animate properly. Probably something with the weird way these armatures import. But you can see that for the bones that are named correctly and have the correct rotation, if I simply go into pose mode, select everything, F3, clear pose location, you can see we have the proper rotations for our character model with the original weights and our fixed up locations. Obviously more can be done to make these even nicer looking, but that is a simple example of how to get a player model's original weights into Source. As for facial animation, there are a few things you can do actually. If you have a character model that has facial bones, there's a really easy way, although it's a little long, but there's a really easy way to transfer facial animation. So we're going to open up this Gears of War port I was doing. We're going to go to the character model. Did I already set it up in this blend? Okay, I did. So you need a character model with their VTA applied. So you would just import them with a make new armature, and then import the VTA with appended target while clicked onto the model. And that will import the character's facial animations down here. So you click on the model, go down here, and you will see all their facial animations. So now you can see if I just scroll through these with the arrow keys, there we go. Now I deleted parts of her character just for easier looking. But now here's how to do it with facial bones. So if your character model, like mine, has facial bones, so you can see I went into pose mode, started moving these around, and you can see they are posed, they are weighted, and I can pose them. So the way we do this is we go to the character model that has the facial animation, and we start making extra vertex groups. So you're just going to add a few here with this plus button, and then you're going to click on the vertex you want to apply and then assign it. So you'll see my lip bot mid, so it's the bottom middle of the lip. If I click select, you'll see all the vertices I have that control this vertex group. If I go bot right, you can see those are the two vertices I have that control this group. And you can see you just have to do that with all the parts of the face that you want to move. So the chin, eyes top, etc. So you just need to apply vertices, which by the way, if you don't know how to switch between modes, it's up here. So you can choose between face select, edge select, and vertex select. I'm just using vertex because it's easier to assign a single vertice with that. And then you can hide this model for now, and you will go back to your character model with the facial bones, go into pose mode, and then you will select the bone. You will go to the bone modifiers, so bone constraints, and you will add a child of modifier. So I'll just do it real quick. So we're going to add bone constraint, child of, the model with the facial flexes. So for me, that's Zoe reference wrinkle. And then we're going to go to the vertex group. This would be eyebrow right, left. So this is the left side of the right eyebrow. We're going to turn off rotation, and we're going to set inverse. So now that you've done that, if you correctly weight painted, well, vertex group assigned the area, then whenever that area moves in the facial animation, you can see the bone will now follow that vertex group. So you will have to do the bone rotations yourself, because bone rotation copying using this method is very jank and oftentimes will cause it to implode on itself, which is why you see me turn off rotation. But using this method, you can basically make the bones follow any character's facial animations. And then to apply them, all you have to do, select the frame, go back to your character model, go to click on the model, go to modifier properties, and apply the armature as a shape key. Well, you can save it as a shape key, I believe. I don't use this method, but I believe that's what you can do, is we can just delete all my existing shape keys, and we can save a shape key. And now, if I bring her back to here, hide this, and then I click on her, now we have that as a shape key. And you just need to do that with every single facial flex. It takes a little while, but it's the easiest way to transfer bones to another character model, or well, facial expressions to a character model with bones from a vertex animated face. I thought I would just do a quick tidbit on that, but that is how you do facial animations, transferring, and that is also how you merge bones, and as well as how you set something to use the valve armature without re-weight painting the entire model, along with also keeping the original bones, and etc. If anyone needs any help, feel free to just leave a comment. I will reply, probably. And that's all.